Hello, FBL-Zone, and welcome to our episode. Today we have a very special guest with us, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yasha Nagathan. I'm from North Carolina, and I serve as one of the state vice presidents. And thanks for inviting me here, Dominic. I'm really excited to share my FBLA story.
Yes, absolutely. So how's everything been going? Just to break the ice, like how's school been going? Yeah.
So everything's been going pretty good. School started for me I think August 28th, and I was a little under the weather for the first couple of weeks of school, so that was definitely an experience. But now FBLA is starting back at my school, and actually yesterday I presented at the CTSO session at my school. So I'm really excited for things to get rolling and for the membership year to start in full swing.
Me too. Like every single start of a membership year, I'm just waiting. I'm faithfully waiting for October to get here because that's when at least in Georgia, that's when things start to kick off with fall motivational rally and stuff. But yeah, I like how things are starting to build up in the FBLA year. So to start off with our first question, that would be describe your FBLA journey so far. So your accolades, your achievements, and what you've done to get to your standpoint here.
So this is my 5th year in FBLA, so I definitely have a lot that I can say. I could probably talk about my story for the whole meeting, but I'll try to keep this brief. So I found out about FBLA when I was in 5th grade, and I was always a really business-minded kid. I loved business, I love entrepreneurship, and then I found out about FBLA, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the club for me, this is the organization for me. But my local middle school, they didn't have an FBLA chapter, so I decided to go to a magnet school that was pretty far away from my house so I could be an FBLA, and that was the best decision I've ever made, hands down, because I think not only has FBLA given me all these amazing experiences and helped me grow as a person, I feel like FBLA is my second family. So all these connections that I've made with people doing things like this, this is a once in a lifetime experience. So I'm really grateful that I made that decision and that I'm in FBLA. So 6th grade was my first year. I was a new member and I competed in states and I was a state finalist. And then I realized that, and I actually didn't study for my test, so I didn't really know the whole process. And I just kind of took my test and I winged it. And then I was a state finalist. And then I realized if I can wing a test, if I can wing an event and be a state finalist, why don't I push myself further and try next year and see where it takes me? So 7th grade year, I was really determined to place at states, and I did. I won 1st place, and then I moved on to nationals, and then I won 2nd place at nationals. So that was definitely my competition year, and I competed in business etiquette, so that was a really fun event. And then 8th grade is when I started to get more involved with FBLA at the local, state, and national level. So I served on the National Middle Level Council with the national officers from I think 2 years ago, and that was a really amazing experience because it was my first council experience, and I'm still in touch with the people that were on my council even though it's been 2 years. And we helped plan workshops for NLC for the middle level, and I was really able to learn some essential leadership skills when it comes to FBLA, like taking meeting minutes. How does a council work? How do you communicate with others, and how do you achieve these goals at such a high level? So that was a fun experience for me. And then I also won a couple of state awards in 8th grade. And then 9th grade was my first year of high school FBLA. And I think that 9th grade has been my most eventful year of FBLA so far. So I went back and I started a middle level chapter at the middle school that I was supposed to go to that didn't have an FBLA club. So I started that up and I helped lead them and train them that last year. So that was a fun experience. And then I ran for state office, and now I serve my state as the state vice president for my region. So I'm really enjoying that, and I'm really excited to plan our regional conference this year, which is coming up in December. And then I competed in Introduction to Business Presentation. We actually competed in the same event. What else? And then I was just really involved with FBLA as a whole last year. I was on a ton of different council initiatives, and I was on a bunch of people's programs. So that was fun to connect with others. And now I'm really excited for this year to see what this year will bring. And yeah, that's a little bit about my FBLA journey.
I just love how sorry. I just love how like since like from middle school and also like in ninth grade, like we've been doing like the same events. Like I also did business etiquette when I was in middle school. And I swear I made like a whole like I think 200 term Quizlet about business etiquette because I was locked in. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to like compete at regional. I was only able to compete at the state competition for business etiquette in 7th grade because of COVID. So that was a bummer. But yeah, I just like find that really funny. But it's your FBLA journey has been like so eventful, and it's just like so amazing to be able to see somebody like from a young age be able to do all these amazing things. Like I personally wish I could have taken control of these opportunities, like the national middle level council, and applied for such opportunities. So for our third question, what do you plan to do as a North Carolina state officer?
So I have so many ideas and so many initiatives that I would like to bring to our state. But really, I guess if I had to sum it up in a sentence, what I'm really passionate about and what I believe in as a state officer is creating resources and programs and supporting our local chapters, because I feel like local chapters are the core to FBLA and are the core to a successful state. So some of the ways that I'm trying to do that is I'm visiting as many chapters as possible. So I think I have like 3 chapter visits lined up this month, and I'm really hoping to visit as many chapters as I can in my region and throughout the state. And me and my state officer team, we are really excited to launch 2 new programs for North Carolina, Carolina Connections and Passionate Public Speakers. And then I'm also trying to create more resources for my region. So I send out a region-wide newsletter every single month, and in that newsletter is an embedded mini workshop for advisors to present at their meetings. So if they don't have an activity to do, or if they just want something that they can send out in their communication channels for their students, then that workshop is a great tool for them. So I did an introduction video with membership tips. I'm planning on doing a competitive event workshop. So these workshops are just a way for me to connect with chapters and for them to learn more about FBLA and business. And like I mentioned before, I'm really excited to be planning my region's regional leadership conference. And I actually represent the biggest region in North Carolina. So that's definitely a huge undertaking. But we're actually really excited to have our keynote speaker, who's a national FBLA officer. So that's going to be huge. And yeah, that's kind of what I have planned so far as a state officer, but I'm sure many more things will be coming in the next couple of months.
The national officer is the collegiate president, Toby Neal, right?
Yes, he is.
Oh my gosh, he's so amazing.
I know.
these like initiatives that you're taking is just like so amazing. Like, you said that the region that you serve, Triangle East, is the largest region in North Carolina.
It is. We have 1,129 members.
Oh my gosh, that's and you're right, that is like such a huge undertaking to plan, like a conference for 1,000 future business leaders. And I'm sure that like you will definitely succeed in that. And it's just like, dang, I wish I wish I could do that. Like I cannot believe me and you are the same age. But yeah, these initiatives, like especially with the region newsletter thing and all the like mini workshops that are embedded in those like region newsletters, like I absolutely love that idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I would definitely say FBLA. I tell people that like FBLA is like my sport because I spend, I would say easily, like 2 hours a day or more on FBLA. But I'm hoping that it'll pay off, and I'm really hoping that I'm able to make that impact that I would like to on our members and on our advisors.
So for our fourth question, what have you learned from serving on the local, state and national level?
So I think I've served on the local, state, and national level of FBLA numerous times in different positions in different places. So I have had the opportunity to work with so many people from so many diverse backgrounds, from so many different ideals and values. And I've been able to become a better person, I think, by working with all these people, because I've been able to learn so much from everyone that I've worked with. I've been able to improve my creativity. I have also improved my communication, my leadership skills, And I'm a very extroverted person. I consider myself a social butterfly. So I'll talk to anyone and everyone. And I love networking and I love meeting new people. So I always love serving on different leadership teams, because the way I look at a leadership team is, once we are done serving and once our term is done, I don't just want us to have, done some tasks and then that's it. My goal is to really build a close bond with the people that I have served with, and that, we can become friends and make that impact together and actually enjoy it. So I'll give you an example. The national officers that I worked with for National Middle Level Council, I'm still in touch with some of them. And Jaya Singh, she was the national president. I'm really happy to have her on the first episode of Carolina Connections. So whenever I serve on a team, whether it's at the local, state, or national level, not only do I try to make the biggest impact that I can, but I also try to leave with a group of friends that, we've worked so hard together and that we have that close bond.
Yes, like one of my biggest motivations for someday branching out and reaching for like a bigger position in FBLA, whether it be on literally any level, like a regional, state, or like maybe even like national council level. Like one of my biggest motivations for that is just so I can get to know more people. Because if one thing about me, like I love networking, like just like you, because if you saw me at nationals, like every time I would like bump into somebody that I was following on Instagram on my FBLA account, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I know you. And it's just like such a great feeling to be able to create these great bonds. So like I totally like understand you from like that standpoint. And yeah, like networking, like not like from what you've not only been able to establish these close bonds, but you've also been able to leave like a really huge impact on FBLA. And I feel as if that's really one of the biggest goals of FBLA is to network, so you can not only create close bonds, but you can also make an impact and make, a name for yourself. And I just really think that's cool.
Oh, thank you so much.
And next, for our fifth question, we have, and I asked this to everybody who's out of state that I interview, because like when I interview people inside of Georgia, like Georgia's its own network. So like, I don't really ask this question, but what are some of your favorite memories / people you've gotten to know from expanding yourself in the national network?
Wow, that's an amazing question. And I think I've been to so many different conferences in my last 5 years, and I've done so much with FBLA, but really I think the highlight of my whole journey was nationals this year, because this was my first like in-person nationals. Like I mentioned before, when I competed in 7th grade, that was virtual, but this was my first in-person nationals. And I think, like I said, I'm an extrovert, so I think like my my social battery was at like 200%. But I had so much fun meeting new people, networking with as many people as possible. And I think my favorite part of NLC was the workshop that I gave. So I was a SWAT presenter, and I talked about how leadership has no age limits, and that was amazing because afterward I was able to meet all the people that were in my workshop. And my state meeting was wonderful because I got to meet so many different people from North Carolina all across our regions. And then the Southern Region rally, that was a great time for me to meet people in our whole Southern region. And just overall, the NLC experience, I got to reconnect with some of the national officers, some of my friends, like you said, that I followed on Instagram, that I had talked to. And I think that it was just a great place, and I was thriving those 7 days. And I enjoyed spending time with my state officer team and just building those memories. And I definitely miss NLC, but I cannot wait for Orlando 2024.
Yes, like I'm still having post NLC depression, and it's August, and NLC was like in June, and I just NLC, it was just like an incredible time. It was like my first NLC, well, my first NLC in general, but it was just so fun being able to meet new people and like getting to see you at the aquarium and also the block party. It was just like, so fun. And like the national network, like being able to expand in that is just such a great opportunity because of not only the amount of people that you get to meet, but also because of the fact that like you've been talking. I remember this is kind of what Spencer, one of the Nevada FBLA state officers, told me when we were at like nationals. But these are people that that a few weeks ago you were texting on Instagram, and now you actually get to see them in person, and it's just like such a like wow feeling, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And like some of my best friends are actually in FBLA, but not just in my school or in my state, but across the nation. So I'm just, like I said, FBLA is my second family. It really is like a community, because I think the reason why we're able to bond and connect so quickly is because we all have a passion for, whether it's business or leadership or just the organization in general. And that bond really brings us closer together. And then we're able to expand on that and talk about our interests, what we like. And I think the national conferences and state conferences are a great way to create those bonds.
For our final question, if you had one piece of advice to end this episode off with, what would it be?
So if I had one piece of advice, it would be to take risks and to never feel like you're too young to do something. Like I talked about before, my workshop that I delivered was leadership has no age limits, and I really stand by that. I think that you don't have to be an adult to be a leader in your community. You don't have to be a senior in high school. You can be a sixth grader and you can be a leader in your community. So my advice for whoever's watching this, whether you're a middle level member, a high school member, even a collegiate member, leadership truly does have no age limits. And I think that if you put in the work and if you want to make that impact, then it can happen. And leadership doesn't just mean standing on a podium, delivering a speech, or leading thousands and thousands of people. Leadership can also be taking that next step within your local chapter. Let's say you are helping your members compete for an event, you're training them, you are organizing social events. That's all leadership. And using those experiences, you can grow and then slowly get to higher levels. But leadership, I think, really, it has so many different definitions to so many different people. But take those risks. Don't be afraid to go to the next level, try something new. And FBLA is a great place to do that. There are so many different ways you can get involved with the organization. So take advantage of that and don't be afraid to take risks.
That is like one of the best pieces of advice that I've heard so far on this like podcast, and like I really love how you tied it into your leadership has no age limits workshop. I remember actually back in February of 2023 when you did your swap workshop, I was actually like one of the people like watching it, and you know, it was just like such a great lesson that I learned. And yeah, this is just like one of the most captivating, like great pieces of advice that I've heard so far from my time in FBLA. So I really appreciate that, Yasha.
Of course. And thank you so much for your time here, Dominic. And if anyone would like to reach out to me, my Instagram is yasha.fbla and also NC FBLA Triangle East. And this was so much fun. I love talking about my story and my journey. And thanks, Dominic.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for being on here. And yeah, this was a great episode. So again, her Instagram, if you want to reach out to her, is yasha.fbla. And this is it for our FBL Zone episode. Thank you so much, Yasha.
Of course. Thanks, Dominic.